Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today's a very special episode. I have Daniel and Laz Nuñez on the line, also known as the Brothers Nuñez, who I was in Miami last week, and I was invited to this premiere, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I heard about the Brothers Nuñez, and then I was just blown away, so I had to bring them on and invite them to talk about their film, The Magnificent Mendez. First off, Daniel, Laz, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Adam. Yeah, thanks for having us, man. I really appreciate you passing by and giving the film a shot, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. I was in the audience, and I was like, I'm not giving any spoilers, so if you're listening to this right now, we're going to figure out, and they're going to tell us how we can listen to it and how they can watch the film. I know I was at the premiere, but let's go back in time a little bit here, guys. How'd you both get into film? And working as brothers, I'm like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, you want to start, Laz? Or?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we're twin brothers. So we were born and raised in Miami, Florida. Our parents are Cuban immigrants. And kind of the way, our dad would bond with us, he'd take us to the movies. Like every week, we'd go to the movies, rent a movie. I'm taking it way back here, man. And then my mom, she's a school teacher. So she got us into kind of, literature and books and all that. So it's kind of that kind of mix of, and she also, got us into plays and stuff. So it was a kind of a mix of upbringings in that sense. Mm-hmm. And then, so since we're pretty young, I have memories of us playing games, but instead of like mimicking the movies we see, we were actually like making the movie. Like we're playing.
Yeah, we're like pretend, but like we'll pretend like it's like a movie, that we're making a movie.
So basically, long story short, man, we eventually ended up going to film school a little while ago now. We've been in the fight for over a decade now, we slowly built our reputation, and we've done other work like, commercials and music videos and things like that. And we got to a point where we're here and you guys to see Magnificent Mendez. So, yeah.
How did you take me back a bit here. When you went to film school, how did you get to that point to make that decision where you knew this is something you got to do? Like, this is your passion. This is what it is for you.
So for me, for us, I think we decided pretty early that we wanted to do that as a career, but we didn't know exactly how to get started. I mean, I think we're probably young teenagers, and we said, I want to be a filmmaker. We want to be filmmakers.
That's awesome.
But like just, in the way, we graduated high school, and we did different things and stuff like that. So it wasn't really until probably in our mid-20s where we decided, let's give this a shot. And our mother went to college late, too. She went to college, she was about the same age, like 25, And we she did it, we can do it. So that was our chance. And, because another thing about it was, like, some people can get into in fact, many people get into this business without ever going to film school. But we felt like we needed it because we have no connections. We're from Miami, born and raised in Miami, and we have no connection to business. And we felt like that would be a great way to network. First off, and second off, we chose the school, Full Sail University in Orlando. Shout out to them. And because they teach you how to make a movie from the ground up. So it's not just like film theory, and that's one of the things that drew us to Full Sail. I don't know if you got anything else, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. Like we had a pretty good understanding of like a little bit of theory and stuff of that nature. But what we really wanted to do was get down and dirty with the technical aspect of filmmaking. And we realized there weren't that many programs that taught the way Full Sail taught. And that really attracted us to it in the sense that we learned basically from day one, you're learning how to put up a movie light, and they're teaching power distribution, everything, editing. And on that topic,
too.
Yeah, and on that topic, it's like in the landscape today, as a filmmaker coming up, you really have to wear more than one hat. You have to know how to do more than one thing. You can't just get by just being, I'm just going to be a director. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. It's really imperative, especially, where we're coming from in South Florida. It's kind of, I have to say, it's kind of like the Wild West a little bit when it comes to
awesome.
Filmmaking. So that creates opportunity, but also it's a little bit chaotic in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to get a bit into your overall process and maybe what you're going into when you talk about stories. I know in the beginning before the movie, you did a little bit of talk and you talked about, being inspired from Shakespeare and different things that you draw in for inspiration, at least for this particular movie. Maybe go into that a little bit.
Sure. Oh, yes. Yeah, sure. So, I think it was Scorsese that said that, you got to make the audience understand your obsessions.
Well,
So, yeah, so,
yeah. Or at least make them obsessed with what you're obsessed with, at least for that moment,
yeah.
you know.
At least for the moment to watch the film. So, Laz and I have an obsession with, we always wanted to kind of decode storytelling. I mean, going back to mythology, Greek and Roman tragedy, all the way to Shakespeare. And we feel like to go back to that foundation of storytelling. And they figured so much stuff out way back when. You can't really reinvent the wheel. What you got to do is, in our opinion, put your flavor on it. And so basically, we try a lot to incorporate mythological motifs and motifs from Shakespeare. And on this one in particular, there definitely was some King Lear in there and a little bit of Othello in there. And also a little bit of literature. On a top layer, some of the plot was really inspired by like F. Scott Fitzgerald's work of, The Great Gatsby and The Last Tycoon.
And it's interesting that those stories take place in the 1920s and we're in the 2020s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
It got us thinking about, this era. And we got to a point where in film school, there's like a cliche of making movies about making movies. There's a lot of early filmmakers that try that for whatever reason. It's probably because maybe they haven't had too much experiences outside of filmmaking, and that's what they want to talk about. But we got to a point where, and even like speaking of Shakespeare, that I saw the way he kind of references the stage, but in a way that's not corny. The way he references the stage to help tell his story, I like that, the way he did that. I thought maybe there's a way to do that with film, And not to mention...
It's like a Greek tragedy, but like in the film world, in the film industry. That's basically...
Exactly. And we got to a point where we did have some things to say about the way cinema has been going, in our opinion. There's references in there in the film to, the tall tale of John Henry and his fight against technology, maybe moving too fast. It's a conversation we want to have. So we're not like completely against AI or, for example, in general, but we do have a problem with it replacing the human touch. In other words, or if that's even what the end game is, like who knows? But things like that. Also, just kind of the whole commerce versus art conversation. We kind of put that in there. But in simplest terms, we wanted to create a Greek tragedy in modern times, in modern Miami. We just transplanted it into where we're from and with a little bit of our own culture and stuff like that.
How did you originally come up with the idea for the Magnificent Mendez? Like, where'd that come from? What sparked that?
So like a lot of ideas, I think it starts with just like a drinking conversation between us.
that's another time. Last night I was talking to two filmmakers. I'm in Hollywood right at the super famous bar where all these drunk filmmakers are at. I'm hanging out in there and we're talking about film. And I'm not gonna spoiler this, but when he does make this, because it's just such an amazing idea. But I was like, dang, I just now saw a film be made just now.
Yep, man.
The idea. He validated it with his other filmmaker buddies, and we were just all sitting there. Oh man, I just saw a film be made. This is amazing. Go ahead, please. So it starts with. It's like kind of like that. It starts with a joking.
Yeah, 100%.
It kind of starts with like a drunken conversation, and then a lot of time the ending. We think of the ending first, and then we work our way back. And I think we saw the film The Last Tycoon with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, and
it's a movie. I was surprised. I was like, I never even heard of that because I saw the newer show. And we saw the film and we thought, man, like, this is a good place to start, something like this. And then we started getting reminded of The Great Gatsby. And then we started going further back and stuff like that. And then it's just, as the conversation goes along, we started thinking about it, start talking about it. What did this happen? What did this happen? What did this happen? And then eventually we just like, man, let's try writing this, So that's how it kind of starts. I don't know if you got anything to add on that, Benny. But.
Yeah, it's like we have just a fun conversation, and it's just like a free-for-all of ideas. Kind of like what you witness with those films. We're just spinning, and just, no holds barred. And then after that, once we decide, all right, we're going to take this serious, then we start like outlining, and then we start setting hours and being a little bit more disciplined with how we're going to, and setting goals for, writing the script and everything. But yeah, and then basically we always try, like I mentioned, we always try to incorporate a little bit of the Greek mythology and the Greco-Roman theater, like motifs in there, but we try to make it, as subtle as possible. We don't want to beat the audience over the head with it either. I want it to be deeply ingrained in a story that hopefully is relatable and accessible and immersive. Even if the film was intentionally a little bit impressionistic at places, I'm sure you noticed that we wanted to keep it accessible and entertaining.
That's awesome. Go into the cast a bit and your cast selection. I thought it was wonderful, by the way. I was enthralled. The entire thing. It was amazing. Talk about the cast selection and what went into that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So first off, we got, when we were writing it, I got to start with my brother Danny because he's in the film. So when we were writing, I was like, you got to do this, bro. And he's always kind of hesitant to step in when it's like something that we're directing and we're writing. I guess because he's a humble guy, but I was like, bro, you got to play this. I think this role is perfect for you. And I was able to convince him to do it. I'm glad. And then Christopher Diaz, we've been working with him. Man, I think already, Danny, 12, 13 years already?
Yeah, long. We go way back, even before.
He was a beast, man. That boy, I can't give it away, but I was scared. I was like, man, I can't. Don't be. Is he in the theater right now? I hope he ain't at the screening. I was like, I don't know. Was that acting or is that a little piece in him? He was that good. I'm like, keep him away from me. Now, no spoilers, sorry, but.
No. He plays a pretty devious character, man. 100%. He actually
plays he plays protagonist in a lot of films in the past. We thought it would be cool to cast him as a villain in this. And we had seen him on, FBI Most Wanted, Danny?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And he did a great scene in that with Dylan McDermott. I thought he did great in that show. And he was a villain in that. I was like, man, he can do this, man. So
the thing about that character, though, is that, at least my favorite antagonists are not like cardboard cutout bad guys, but people that we could almost see ourselves in. And I feel like, man, somebody as charismatic as Chris, we can start out kind of liking him. Maybe he's even making sense at the beginning of the film, and then obviously you got to push him into a place where he crosses the line. And you remember that scene where that happens. So that's kind of how we handle that character. But you need an actor like Chris to be able to do that. And
then another notable would be Renee DeVan, who's he's been in the business for a bit. He's done some big stuff, working with directors like Soderbergh. He's worked with Soderbergh, so it's a little daunting.
Knowing that he's been directed by Soderbergh, and now he's gonna step on a set with us, so it was a little bit daunting. But he loved
the script, and he was gung ho about the film, so I was happy about that. I think he did a great job as well.
And we had Etta Wise, who was great in the film. I had met her doing a play that never really happened. We were rehearsing a play, and we had such a good time rehearsing the play. We're like, we got to work on something else. And then this came up, and I thought of her in that part. She's had a lot of success in Spanish language TV and stuff like that, and she was great in that part. And the rest of the cast are either actors like Dana Garvey, we've been trying to work with for a long time, and finally got to work with.
So, as you notice, the theme, we don't really like, I personally at this point don't really like to audition, do cattle calls. We're not fans of doing that. What we like to do is just off of, let's say I never met the actor. I'll watch a little demo reel or a little tape from something else that they did. They don't have to necessarily most of the time do a tape for us. Maybe go to a play that they're in and watch a movie or something like that. Exactly. And then we like just to meet with them,
to have a conversation. Usually you get a lot more, I think, than some cold read, and a couple of the actors once you can gauge the skill level, once you know, okay, they're a good actor, then at that point am I going to work with them and do they fit the role? That's the question that has to be answered. And you're not going to get that from a random, and you also got to gauge if they're on board with kind of the story itself. Are they going to be passionate about it too, or can they fake it? But no, everybody really liked the story and responded really strongly.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hence why I was like, I got to get these guys on the show and hear the story of how this took place. Talk to me about the plans going forward. I know I was at the premiere, so the magnificent Mendez. How do people connect? What are the plans for the movie going forward?
Sure, man. So right now we're in the stage. We have a couple possible distributors that we're having conversations with, and we're going to see. The next stage is to kind of see where the film is going to have a home as far as distribution. But along that way, we're going to maybe plan a couple more screenings, and just to kind of, get the word out and make sure that people know that the film exists. And if people enjoy it, make sure the distributors know that they had a good time. And just take it from there, man. And that's the next step. So we will keep everybody posted. You can find out about the film on our website, on our social media and stuff like that.
And the website's for everybody listening, the website is thebrothersnuñez.com. You can see that and also see some of the other work that they've done as well, and trailers for previous movies and all kinds of good stuff. And how do people follow you on social?
On Instagram, Danny the Twin. So it's Danny_DA_twin.
And I'm Ezra the Twin, so DA Twin.
Yeah, you can probably get to everything else from the gram. So
yeah,
you can find the Brothers Nuñez on Facebook if you search pretty easily too. But
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today, and for everybody watching or listening, the magnificent Mendez, definitely check that out. Check out the brothersnuñez.com. Follow them on Instagram. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe and follow button. And Danny, Laz, man, great. Congrats again. I know it's hard to do what you're doing, and man, I much love for everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time at the theater with enjoying your work. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man, and thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate it.